Okay, so the border is out of control. We've got Donald Trump being taken off the ballot in Maine. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Let's get into it. I got somebody in the studio with me. It's going to be a good one. Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. So, for those of you that are new to this channel, every now and then I get to have my brother in studio with me.
Howdy.
So it's always good to have another face, and people don't have to sit and just listen to me rant, for 20
and I don't have
minutes.
to talk to the wall.
That's right. You're sitting in your car thinking all this stuff, and I'm like, here, let me put you on camera and let you talk about
Yeah,
it.
just let me talk
to all
about
these
it.
wonderful American people out here. So yeah, the first thing we talked about when we were talking about what we wanted to discuss, I said the border, and the border, for those of you all that don't know, has hit a new record. So we're hitting 10 to 12,000 people a day coming across the southern border, and this is just some footage that was posted by Colin Rugg on Twitter, and these are just massive, absolutely massive caravans coming across our southern border, and we don't know who these people are. A lot of people. I've said it a couple times in videos that when men flee, they take their families. When men go to war, they come alone. Well, you'll see in some of this video a hodgepodge of men and women, but the predominant amount of footage that we're getting from the southern border are people that they're military age males coming alone.
Well, and the stats that I checked on, it's been a few months ago, but when I was looking at the stats, but in 1 month they had caught 98 people, or 1 year I think they caught 98 people on the terrorist watch list in a year. But look at all the people crossing. You can't possibly tell me you're catching everybody when you're letting this many people cross the border.
No.
So they hide in the crowds. You aren't going to catch them. There are probably, it's hard to tell how many thousands of people are in here right now.
Oh, it's millions, and
I'm talking about thousands of terrorists.
people on the terror watch.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%.
yeah.
The footage we're seeing, people coming from China, people coming from North Africa, people coming from Middle Eastern countries, and we know that if you're in North Africa, if you are in the Middle East, there's going to be 25% of those folks have believe that some of the extremist ideologies should be acceptable in their
Especially
societies.
North Africa, because North Africa is predominantly Muslim and influenced by the Middle East.
Right.
And most of the people in the Middle East really don't like us. Most of them tolerate us because we give them money. But you got of course, the Irans and the other people that just can't stand us. Uh-oh.
Well, this is something I was going to. I was actually going to play this on my video that I recorded yesterday, and if you all haven't seen that one, be sure to go check it out. But this was, you'll recognize this lady, and I always forget her name. But this was kind of her warning. Everybody was they went around the table. It was a reporter roundtable, and they were talking about what do you expect for 2024. And this was
Face the Nation.
on Face the Nation. But this lady is very well connected. You'll recognize her when you see her.
Well, mine's a little dark. I just feel a lot of concern that 2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine. And we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.
And if they're saying that on CBS, I mean, that speaks volumes. And this lady, and again, she's worked for Fox for a while. She's worked for CNN. She's worked for a lot of different news channels. She's been in D.C. covering this stuff for a long time. She's very much tapped into the scene.
Did you notice what she said when she said this country is more divided than we have been in a long time? The communist Democrats have to keep the country divided. They have to keep the country divided to keep their narrative running. And if you listen to what she said, it's more divided than it's ever been before. Actually, if you look at the polls and you look at what the presidential outlook is, we're more united against the communist Democrats than we have been in years. And so they have to keep the divisiveness up. But one thing I touched on, and you and I talked about it before, with the immigration, to tear our country apart, we have our founding fathers set our country up for success. And we use so many outliers to strengthen our government, the U.S. government.
When you say outliers, what do you mean?
Well, you got your executive branch, your judicial branch, your legislative branch. You've got all those little outliers. Those things have to come together to make things happen in the United States. And one, of course, now we've noticing that the communists are using the judicial branch as a weapon. They've weaponized the judicial branch of the
We were
US.
never supposed to legislate from the bench like we have.
But what we're doing is, what they're doing, I think what people miss is the bigger picture of this, is in order to tear down, if you look at the communist governments that have gone on around the world, most of it has happened when the economies collapse and they go down. Sure. And so what they can do is the people start relying more heavily on the government to help them out of the hole that they're in.
Well, the government is a self-licking ice cream cone in that it generates problems that that people think only the government can fix.
Hence immigration.
Exactly.
Illegal aliens coming into this country. You bring 8 million of them in here. That's what's been going on there in Biden. 8 million. Okay, so we're putting them up in these hotels. You spend $1,000, 8 million people, and you spend $1,000, which I know we spent that on one person. You're talking about $8 billion just by spending $1,000 on one person. And I'll guarantee that we spent more than $1,000 on each one of those. So you can slowly and methodically tear down, because the American people are paying their taxes. The taxes are going to paying for illegal aliens to get health care, to get housing, to get food. So ultimately what they're doing is they're tearing it down from the inside out.
Yeah. And
then most of these people, they're hoping they're going to vote commie Democrat. And so,
well, and here's the thing, the people say the great replacement theory is some, racist dog whistle. It absolutely is not. I mean, here it is, American births versus illegal immigrants coming in. The illegal immigrants have passed us for the first time in history. And so if you flood a nation with millions of people, it's engineered destabilization and destruction of the republic. And when I say it's engineered, you need to, when you look at a society like, okay, let me rephrase. If you are a developing nation, what's the first thing that you have to have in order to build an economy and, have free and open trade and commerce? Before any of that can happen, what's the first thing you have to have?
You have to have something set in place to govern the...
You have to have security.
Well,
so security is, when we I say we do nation building, we are terrible at nation building as a military, but when our purpose was to secure it could be a province, or it could be secure a country, is really what we were trying to do. But if you wanted to have reliable trade, you have to have security. It's just the bottom line. And if you want to destabilize a country, what's the first thing that you have to disrupt? You have to make people feel insecure.
Yeah.
And if you bring 8 million people in, the large preponderance of which, or the large majority of which, are military-aged, fighting-aged males from hostile nations, then at the very least you're having a psychological effect.
Well, and I kind of agree with you on the security, but at some point you have to have a government. If you're starting a brand new country, you have to have some sort of government established. As I get the security thing, but you have to be able to train somebody from the government to be able to secure that nation when you leave.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you don't need to have say, okay, we're going to be a constitutional representative republic, or we're going to be a pure democracy, or we're going to be a socialist government. No. You have to have something in place.
Yeah.
But if you want your goods and services, and you want people to be able to travel to places to buy those goods and services, then you have to have the ability for someone to get from point A to point B without getting robbed, mugged, shot.
And I get that.
Yep.
No, I'm totally 100% on board. So you have to be able to secure those people.
Right. And so if you flood, if you flood the country, these people are making it, by the way, into the heartland. This is a Texas problem. It's an Arizona problem, and a New Mexico problem, and a California problem. But Texas is shipping these people out, as they should, because they can't bear the burden of 8 million people just inside of their state. But this is going to affect the heartland as well.
And here's the thing that kills me about this whole thing is the Chicago and New York, they sit up there and whine, oh, we've got 150,000 people up here. Oh, we've got 200,000. What about that freaking 8 million that are down at the border?
Yeah.
What about the 8 million? How about the millions that are in Texas right now? They aren't even sending you a fraction of what they're trying to control down there, and you're complaining about it and saying you can't support it. No, it is they just can't handle it, but they'll sit up there in their ivory towers and they'll say, oh, but it's okay because we're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary city until they start receiving them. And then once they start getting those people in, they can do it at 10s and 20s at a time. But when you start sending thousands at a time, they aren't budgeted for that, because most of their population, I won't say most of it, but a lot of it is based off of government assistance anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look
Even with government assistance, man, they can't bear the burden of this.
We can't. The American people cannot. We're seeing the effects of it. It's not, they blame it on gas prices and inflation, but this is a cause of it too. We can't sustain this.
No, it's impossible to sustain. And last week, it said, this is from CNN, by the way, so this is obviously not right-wing talking points. This is left-wing, whatever. Frustrated by rogue buses from Texas dropping off migrants by the thousands, the mayors of New York, Chicago, and Denver are trying to slow the surge by requiring the bus operators to coordinate arrivals under the threat of impound, fines, and even jail time. So they're going after the bus drivers, saying, if you're going to bring these people here, we can't handle it. We can't handle it. This is and I've heard it repeated on like talking heads on the news saying, this is a border problem. This is a border problem. Your party is the one who is creating this problem, and you're putting the burden on red states. It is the most lopsided.
But they want to bankrupt the red states. Yep. They want to send it to the red states. Well, look at what they did in the middle of the night back when Biden took office, and they started busing them to Tennessee, and they started busing them to other states across the nation that were red states, solidly red states. And they were doing it, but now they could do it. But then now when the Republican governor of these red states gets tired of it and starts shipping it to the commie governments, then it becomes an issue. Then it becomes a problem.
Listen to this. At the direction of Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, the Lone Star State has bused over 90,000 migrants to sanctuary cities run by Democrats like Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Denver, and Los Angeles since April of 2022. 90,000. That's it. That is 9 days worth of people.
And how many millions of people have crossed the border since then?
And we can't handle it. Eric Adams taking a bunch of flack because he's like, this is going to destroy our city. And yes, it is.
Well, I'm sorry, if you can't handle it, if you don't know how to manage your city any better than that, then maybe you ought to be taking a lesson from the Texas governor and how he's doing it with millions of people versus thousands of people.
And when the Texas, this is the other thing that when
I'm
Texas
fired up. Sorry,
dude, I'm fired up about it too, man. It hasn't quite hit where we are, but it's going.
But it has. But here's what's going on.
Let me before you go into that. Let me talk about this because this timing of what you said was just perfect. The Biden administration, it warns Texas it will sue if state implements strict immigration law. And basically what this is saying is Texas is going to start arresting deporting. They're going to take on the border crisis by itself inside the state of Texas. And if you need any other indicator that this is a manufactured crisis, that this is intentional and in the intentional destabilization of our republic, they're saying, no, you cannot defend the border that is impacting your state negatively. Otherwise, we're going to sue you. So you have to allow illegal immigrants to continue to come across the border.
But the Biden administration also knows that they lost the fight when they were cutting the fences, when they had the Border Patrol cut the fences in Texas. So when Texas was trying to keep them out, they put up the fences. Well, then the federal courts ruled that Texas was okay in doing that. Okay? I think what they're doing is they're trying to pull right now, they're trying to play to all those people that they want to pull back into because they know they're losing this election. This is an election move right here. And it'll sue the state because of the immigration law. Texas will win it. I think Texas will win it ultimately. But I think what they're doing right now is they're playing politics, and they're saying, because all the Democrats, because they can play. If you look at the Democrats, they vote mainly off emotion. Yeah. And they go, well, they're just looking for a better place. And they're ignorant to the fact, and I mean that in the most sincerely heartfelt way, but ignorant doesn't mean that you're stupid. It just means you don't know. And they're ignorant to the fact of what is really going on. And so what the Biden administration now is doing, I think they're playing and that's what they're doing with the bus drivers too. They're doing the same thing. They're playing to the bus drivers. How many bus drivers do you know that would be going, oh, well, I'm going to get arrested. I'm not going to drive that bus up there.
Yeah, every one of them.
That's exactly right. They have a CDL. They have a family to keep up. They don't want to go. So they're pushing those people out. They're playing off their fears and emotion, because the communist Democrats are masters at emotional voting rather than voting with the common sense and using your head to vote. And so I think this is what they're doing. I think they're playing, but I think they will do it. I mean, they're going through with it. Don't get me wrong. I just think that it's going to be struck down ultimately when it goes to the Supreme Court, because I think Abbott wants to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. He's like, I'm fighting it all the way up.
And as well he should. Now, yeah, and I think there's because I want to. Well, emotional is one thing, but I think it's misplaced emotion, because sometimes we vote on emotion, right? I am my patriotism, my love of my country, my love of my republic, that it's very, very important to me. So there's a certain aspect of, emotion that goes into this. That goes into this podcast. I wouldn't be doing a podcast and be talking about this and spending all of my free time researching and doing all this stuff if there wasn't a certain emotional attachment. There's this misplaced emotion.
But do you think that they don't care about the country?
Yes. I think they hate this country.
Well, I don't think that. So I don't think
100%.
The Democrat voter. I'm talking about the voter. Now, I'm not talking about the administration. The administration they hate this country and everything it stands for, because they want to take over and ultimately control everything. But what I'm saying is their voter, they can play to the emotions of their voter, because most of their voters, other than the people that are usually in the government assistance programs, and some people don't, but for most part, people in the government assistance, they vote Communist Democrat because they get their checks every month. But what I'm saying is the Communist Democrats in Washington, D.C. care nothing about this country. But the Democrat voter, the people of this country, I think they do care about the people. They think they're doing the right way. Like you say, though, I think it is in their minds, they're thinking they're doing the right thing, even though they're pushing the wrong aspect of that ideal.
Okay, so I'm going to break that down a little bit, because I agree. There's a large preponderance of people who love what America has provided them. But they're the same people that are going to push critical race theory and say that we're systemically racist as a country. They're going to say that that capitalism is evil, that successful people got that way because they took wealth from people, not because they generated a product that was worth purchasing, that gave them a successful. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
And so there's people who say, yes, I believe this country should be so much better, and it's got to be better through socialism and all that stuff. I think if that's what you're saying, if you think that a free market system, that our constitutional representative republic, with our electoral college, with all the things that are in place now, that are slowly being eroded, but that are in place now, that got us to this point of greatness, I think that you fundamentally have to hate the country. But there's a lot of people who don't. They do it because I feel bad for these immigrants. It's sad, and yes, it is sad that people feel the need to flee, the women and children. That's unfortunate. But we can't as a country keep up the people that we have now, and so that's why I say it's misplaced.
But here's what you and I are talking about. So you're talking about the women and children, and that's what they look at. They don't look at the military. They don't look at the military age males. Right. They don't look at that. Because they aren't shown that on the NBCs, the CBSs, the ABCs.
Right.
They're told, oh, they're showing the kids and the ones standing on the fence and hanging off the fence. Oh, they need help. And I was watching TV the other night, and an ACLU commercial came on, and they're like, "Oh, give money to the ACLU." I'm thinking, you get federal funding. Yeah. Why do you need my money? You already take my tax money. But I mean, those are the people that push that stuff, and they push it, and they push it, and they push it, and they've shown psychologically over time. Once you have had that beat into you, you believe it. And these people coming up, these Democrats that, like you were just talking about, the socialist Democrats that are against everything that makes this country great, the capitalism, the belief that everybody can succeed in this country, no matter your race, religion, creed, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can do it in this country, but they hate it because they've been told to hate it. And it stems from the communist Democrat ideals. And they have spread that hatred through the colleges, through the schools that are teaching their kids. And I think that's ultimately where you get the people. Well, I mean, AOC, prime example.
Yeah.
She is yeah. Anyway, that's enough. That's all I can say. But she is a product of her environment, and she doesn't know her right from her left, but she does know that she was told in elementary school that capitalism's evil and socialism's great. And, they don't understand that. And do you really, in a way you could get upset at them, but in their heart of hearts, that's what they believe.
That's fine.
But don't push it.
But if you don't have that enough self-awareness to say that, I'll use a controversial topic of abortion, that killing an infant in the womb, and I'm just using that because it's one of the biggest issues for, people on the Democrat side. If you can't recognize that killing a human being in a mother's womb is not, if you can't realize that is evil, then I don't know what else to do with you, because you're part of the problem.
Yes. That is beyond evil, and to be able to, and that's where,
not to mention, and I'm sorry, if you can't realize that people coming across the border illegal, I am 100% for legal immigration.
Oh, by all means, legal immigrants.
Does the process need to be fixed, and can it be streamlined? Can it be more effective? 200%. Does that mean that people should have to wait 5 to 10 years to get here? Maybe, maybe not. But the process could be streamlined and it could be more effective. But wholesale allowing people to come across the border, and a lot of folks will say that, oh, well, are you more libertarian in your beliefs? Which I'm not libertarian, by the way. I'm just constitutional conservative. But yeah. Milton Friedman, he was very much for immigration, but he was specific enough to say, but if there's a social safety net, you can't sustain illegal immigration, or you can't sustain immigration.
And I do not believe in illegal. I do not believe in illegal aliens coming to this country. I am firmly, like with you, we are a melting pot of nations. That's how this country was created. But we do it legally. They come through the right channels. We vet the people that need to be vetted,
Yep.
and we bring the people in that can contribute to our society. Right now, what's happening is we are bankrupting this country. We are bankrupting our states by allowing, and the communist Democrats, if you think for 2 seconds that they don't know what they're doing, if you think for a second that they don't know what they're doing, they know exactly what they're doing. They
are doing it at the expense of everybody that watches this video. They know that the people that are going to experience the pain is not going to be the people in Washington, D.C. It's not going to be the people sitting in the governor's mansion in New York. It's going to be the people that are out there just living their day-to-day life, that have to worry about their security, that have to worry about, the beatings, the stabbings, all the things that we've been seeing from illegal immigrants, the military-age male illegal immigrants coming into this country.
Rapes.
And rape.
And murder. Yeah. I mean, it is horrible. And but like I say, if we were vetting those people down there on the border, if we were vetting them and letting them in, and the catch and release program that Trump had in effect was a great idea, because you send them back off when they're ready, you bring them in. When you have vetted them.
Here's the problem: vetting people from Uganda, or vetting someone from Gaza, or vetting someone from, I don't know, pick whatever country you want it to be.
Right.
From I was going to say Sudan, or from Syria, or whatever. The vetting process, you have to be able, to vet somebody, there has to be a database, there has to be criminal record, there have to be biometrics, there have to be all these things in place. And a random dude who was able to, somehow, here's the other part, is these people are somehow generating the money, because the cartels are getting, anywhere as little as $5,000 a head up to $15,000 a head to get people across the southern border. So they're getting money somehow. But nonetheless, if there's no biometric data on those people, if there's no record of those people through other host nations, that's the slow process. Vetting that many people, it would take years to vet 8 million people. So they say, well, don't worry about vetting them, just bring them across. And as they kill people, and as they stab people, and as we catch them, then we'll find them and figure out who they are. That's basically the way the process is working.
But they put them in, they treat them just like every other American citizen. And you are not an American citizen until you have been brought into this country legally. So they bring them in here, they take them to their jails or their prisons, and then they let them out on a bond. Do you think that person's ever going to show back up for court?
No, there's no way to find them.
There's no way to find them. They can go back out, get another fake ID, they're on to another place.
Yeah.
So we have no control of it. And in that is exactly what I was talking about before, is where they're tearing it apart, not just economically, but by the judicial system as well. So what happens when all this stuff starts happening, people start rooting and saying, well, we need to do something about our judicial system allowing these immigrants in. Well, guess what that does? That opens up the door for your senator, your congressman, all these people on tap catching money from the lobbyists to start messing with your judicial system. We're seeing the effects of it right now with everything going on with the Communist Democrat Party and the election process and all that. So,
and here's the other thing. This is this is why I say, and will continue to say, that this is the controlled destruction of our republic. This is calculated, and it's not just on immigration. Immigration's not the one thing that's going to bring us down. We saw what happened with President Trump in, here we go, let's pull this up. What happened with him in Colorado. And so he's now back on the ballot in Colorado. Mm-hmm. Then they take him off in Maine. And the Secretary of State, I don't know if you saw the video, but she flat out said and admitted that I unilaterally, her with a team and whatever Soros-funded lackey helped her make that decision. They said, no, we have the right to institute Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And because we believe that it was an insurrection on January 6th, and we believe that he was the one responsible for it. And this is the same thing that they did in Colorado, and they had to overturn it. He's back on the ballot. Again, the Secretary of State says that unless the Supreme Court rules, he should be disqualified. But Maine, Secretary of State, does the same thing. And this is the test bed. So this is where we have to have our finger on the pulse of what's going on. The test bed is, how long does it take for us to say we're taking him off the ballot, and for courts to take some action that force them to withdraw that action? Because this is going to happen in September, in October of next year. 100% guaranteed. They are going to say, we're just going to take him off the ballot.
And we're going
and if it's going to be in a swing state, and in a swing state, if, because this has happened before. The Democrats have done this before. And you remember when it was?
No, I do not remember.
1860. Abraham Lincoln. The Democrats took him off the ballot in 10 states. He still won. And this is what happens. If Trump still wins, even after a state takes him off the ballot, they're going to see that he got 50 million votes to Joe Biden or Gavin Newsom or whoever he's running against, to their 70 million votes. And they're going to say, we have to do away with the Electoral College. And in the process, if they do happen to get enough states to agree to take him off the ballot and he loses, then they're going to appeal it. It's going to go, and you won't find out until the spring that, our bad. Well, now the election's done, and they're not going to go back and redo the election. So it's a win-win for them. Either they get rid of Trump for another 4 years, or they get rid of the Electoral College. Those are their two. There's going to be.
They've been trying to get rid of the Electoral College for years,
and if they do,
and they've been trying to do that since well before. Well, I mean, you could go all the way back to George Bush and Al Gore, and they wanted to get rid of the Electoral College back then because they said it wasn't fair.
Well, and if they get rid of it, I mean, that's basically it for our country. Like, we're Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all those places will elect they'll determine our president for the rest of our life. Because it'll take them that long to overturn something like that. I don't think they'll do away with the Electoral College, but I think that the argument will become much stronger if Donald Trump wins with 50 million votes to Joe Biden's 70 million votes.
But you've got, and well, yeah. I mean,
and so they want us to feel.
They want us to feel insecure in our country.
Exactly.
And they want us to feel insecure with the way this country is. And I think that is what the American people have to remember. We have to realize that there are safeguards in place that our forefathers put there to keep total communist rulers like this from coming in and taking over our government. Of course, they faced different type as more kings and queens but but it's still the same aspect. I mean, and we have to remember that's what's got to save us. Now, what's happened, just as I mentioned before, is the communist Dems have taken over the judicial system. That's where they're getting a lot of this stuff passed through. Yeah. And of course, the governor of Maine, she's a communist Democrat, just like everybody else. Harris, I believe, isn't that her name?
The governor? I can't remember the governor.
Yeah, Governor Harris. I think
is that who it is?
Yeah. But she looks like she's. You look at a picture of her. She's a typical Democrat.
Let's
see
what she looks like.
But yeah. So. And Maine is kind of like it's kind of in that realm of New Hampshire, or New Hampshire's a little more conservative than Maine for the most part. I mean, they've had some Republicans, but most of the Republicans have been Rhinos. I mean, they aren't true Republicans in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and some people were bashing. I think she was one of the senators from Maine.
I know who you're talking about.
So the things that give me a glimmer of hope are that people like her said, no, this is not how this process is supposed to go down. Mm-hmm. The people of Maine are supposed to be able to vote for who they want to vote for. You're using the Insurrectionist Act, which is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that was meant to keep Civil War leaders and generals out of.
But here's the thing. Has anybody looked at what insurrection means in the Constitution? I saw no weapons in those people's hands trying to take over the government. There was nothing. They were with their feet propped up on the desk. That means nothing.
Yeah.
There was no insurrection. They keep saying insurrection. Well, that is exactly what I was talking about before. You say it enough, people believe it. There was no insurrection.
Well, there was an attempted insurrection on May 29th, 2020. May 29th, 2020 insurrection? Have you seen this? A lot of people didn't even hear about it. It was outside the White House. Here you go. Check this out. These are this is from outside the White House, where 50 Secret Service agents and Capitol Police were wounded. They were firebombing the White House. They actually firebombed a guard shack, burned it down, attempting to get into the White House. The president was moved into the bunker underneath the White House. Hardly anybody covered it. Hardly anybody. And this was
Antifa.
Yeah, Antifa and BLM.
Yeah,
Yep.
Antifa and BLM.
Firebombed the White House, and they were. Well, there you go. If what happened on January 6th is an insurrection, then Joe Biden needs to go out and find every single person that was involved in that attempted insurrection. They had cars filled with incendiary devices that they surrounded the White House with.
Let's see, that's a true insurrection.
That's an actual. There you go.
That's an actual insurrection.
That's insurrection. But what happened to none of those people, or any of those people? They got bailed out by Kamala Harris and everybody else that donated money.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when she did, when she bailed them out. Yeah,
and
okay,
so
I do remember
people
that.
across the country were bailed out, but these people were bailed out as well. Nobody wants to talk about that because we have to. I get frustrated with a lot of the more kind-hearted conservatives that they kind of refuse to. All this stuff we're talking about with a great deal of veracity because we understand how important this is. We understand how dangerous the situation our country is in right now, or how dangerous the situation.
And this next election is like crucial to this country. I mean, it is beyond crucial. And these people that say, "Well, if my person doesn't get in, then I'm just not going to vote because if Trump gets in, I'm not going to vote for him." You have to vote. Good gosh, it is so important because this is literally if we have 4 more years of this craziness going on, it will destroy this country.
I'm gonna add something to that.
You add away.
I think that
it's your show.
That even if yeah. That gum right. It's my show. I think that even if Trump gets elected, we are still going to have 4 years of pain. The only way they are going to make this less painful is if we elect who they want us to elect. If we elect Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom, or Nikki Haley, then any of those three
Chris
people,
Christie.
or Chris Christie, yeah. If any of those people get elected, the temperature in this country will come down dramatically. And they want us to lull us back to sleep. Donald Trump was a disruptor in more ways than I think people give him credit for. He had the lobbyists out of the White House. This is why they pitch a fit and why they are trying to keep him from getting elected.
Right.
He had the lobbyists out of the White House. He was the guy who didn't say the things that they wanted him to say, didn't do the things they wanted him to do. He's outside the system. He was not bought and paid for. And it's the same reason they hate Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah,
because he's self-funding his campaign. There are no lobbyists pulling strings for him, no special interests, no super PACs. And the super PACs have started to back Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's not necessarily, he's not a bought and paid for kind of guy.
He is not a bought and paid for guy.
And
100%.
So
not.
They are kicking and screaming, and they are turning up the rhetoric in public discourse. They are allowing people to come across the border like they are. They're letting criminals go in record numbers, being released from prisons.
Oh, yeah.
They are inflating our currency, and it just keeps going, and there is no stopping it. It's like no matter how hard we fight, we just can't, it's like trying to climb uphill during a mudslide. Like it's just, it's just going to keep coming. And if Donald Trump is elected, which I believe he will be, they're going to turn it up even more because what the worst thing that could possibly happen would be a Donald Trump followed by Vivek Ramaswamy, 2 non-establishment, outside the mainstream, outside the political dynasty, selection process. That would be absolutely devastating to them. So they're going to turn up the heat for 4 years, and we just have to increase our pain tolerance. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense, but here's what we are going to see. You say they're going to turn up the heat.
Mm-hmm.
I think here's my thing is we're going to see much of the same thing we saw through Trump's presidency where we have the Antifas, the BLMs, blah 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 blah. They all are going to come out of the woodwork again because they're all we're anti. What is it? Antifa is supposed to be anti-fascist, but they're true fascists.
They're actual fascists.
They're actual fascists acting as anyway. But they're going to come out of their woodwork but the American people ultimately are going to be better off.
Yeah.
And because what MAGA was a movement. It wasn't, he did it as a campaign slogan, but what it turned into was a whole movement, and he became the leader of that movement.
Yeah.
And what we're experiencing now is we're seeing the true side of the communist Democrats. We're seeing the true side of these Rhino Republicans, like the Mitch McConnells, the Mitt Romneys, those guys like that. We're seeing, what's his name?
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of you. You could read my mind.
No, I will never have another podcast, I don't think, where I mention the Republican Party and not talk about how Lindsey Graham is a slimy politician.
Yeah, he is a definite politician.
Oh my!
He'll jump on whoever's boat he thinks he's going to go on. But anyway, so the thing what we have to remember is no matter what happens, when they come out and the Antifa, the BLM, we have to remember that, and that means that we're doing the right thing in this country. And we can't let it get us down.
Yeah.
We're doing the right thing because the wrong people are trying to change it. Mm-hmm. Because we look at what happened out in Oregon when it was Oregon, wasn't it? Where Seattle, where they took over the Portland. Wasn't it Portland during Trump's administration?
Where they took over the police department and took over a federal building.
Yeah, took over a federal building out there. Okay.
Chaz.
Chaz. Yeah.
Chop. Then it was the Chop.
Yeah.
Chaz.
But we look, because Trump tried to send in the National Guard. Mm-hmm. And the governor wouldn't allow it until Biden was elected, and then he allowed Biden to go in there with the National Guard and clear them out. Mm. So, but you have to realize that you're doing the right thing. Yes, but is it worth your kids? Are you willing to take a little pain, a little suffering? So that the next generation, this country will be better off than what it is right now?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and I think that our expectations of who that leader is, people, there's a lot of people I talk to who say, Trump's too crass. I'm just tired of his tweets and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, there have been flawed leaders. Like if you're expecting a messianic figure or something that is this eloquent person with their hand tucked in their jacket who's going to do, everything right, it's not always going to be that type of a person. In different times call for different people, and this time calls for somebody who is outside of, like we've been saying, outside of the mainstream, who's not afraid to mix it up, who's crass, who's tough. He's thick. He's,
definitely.
I won't say thick-skinned.
He is thick-skinned because you got to look at what that man's gone through over the past 7-8 years.
What he's gone through, but he doesn't take criticism very well.
But I will say he is able to battle back and just hammer down
100%. 100%.
You didn't have North Korea. You didn't have North Korea out of line. You didn't have Ukraine out of line. You didn't have Russia out of line.
I get that. I'm just saying that when he takes personal criticism, his response isn't always great. But that's irrelevant. That's kind of making my point. He is not a perfect person. We will never have a perfect person that is going to lead us until Christ himself comes back.
He was the only perfect person.
He's
the
only perfect one that's ever walked this earth.
Yeah.
So you might not like certain things about the way he talks or his tweets or anything like that.
And NBC News and CBS will go after
We have to have the power of discernment to understand who the right person for the right time is. And I'm a person who believes there's two options. If Donald Trump goes to prison, which God help us if that is the case, but if Donald Trump actually goes to jail, and I worry about what will happen to our republic if that happens, but there is somebody that can pick up the mantle, and I think it's Vivek Ramaswamy. I do not think that it's Ron DeSantis. Obviously don't think that it's Nikki Haley. I think he is the only outside the mainstream person that's not bought and paid for in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But is he perfect in every way? No, absolutely not. He's got his flaws and some things that bug people. Some people think he's too much like Obama or whatever. But we have to have, it's the power of discernment. Listen to what their policy prescriptions are to fix the woes of our country. And if those, at the very least, will do it, then, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying. I mean, yeah. But here,
you have to hold your nose and take your medicine sometimes. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, and I do believe, though, that if we go with, I think this is your point, that if we go with somebody that's the same old Rhino mentality, the Nikki Haley, she just came out the other day against Trump. Oh, we don't need another person like Trump. He's too abrasive, blah, 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 blah. And she's getting the money from the same people that gave it to the Rhinos in the first place. Same people that got, and there may be people out there that like him, but he destroyed our economy was Bush and all these other people. So she's getting that Koch money, Koch brothers money, and all this other. So
She's got BlackRock money.
BlackRock money.
Oh, yeah.
And they are deep into it.
Those people are evil. Larry Fink is, he very well could be the Antichrist. I don't know. I don't know. The Antichrist is supposed to be, I'll ask my buddies who know more about eschatology. This is the Antichrist right here. You want to know who the Antichrist is? That's him. Oh gosh. But sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. Okay. I totally lost my train of thought.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. No, it's okay.
Squirrel.
Yeah. You're right. You were saying that if we go with the same old mainstream Republican,
if we go with the same old mainstream Republican, like they keep trying to push, we're never going to change this country. We're going to constantly be sacrificed to the compromise and we have a new Congress in there. We've seen it with the House, how they got rid of one Senate Majority Leader, or sorry, not Senate Majority Leader, but how they got rid of one of the Speaker of the House to change him out for another one. Although he's a little bit better, he may not be 100% better, but he is better than the last one. So, we're seeing change in our government. We have to be willing to take that step and not submit to the fact that, oh, well, we just don't need that kind of somebody that tweets, evil tweets. Well, you know what? Guess what? That is the only thing you can say about Donald Trump and his presidency that was bad, because that's the only thing NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, that's what they all reported on all the time were his tweets. They couldn't report on anything else, but he manipulated those tweets. Now, if you want to get into that, he was throwing those tweets out there to drag them off the course so that they wouldn't be going after the people in his administration. Because as soon as they start going after them, he'd start sending out a tweet. Guess who they concentrated on? Donald Trump. They could care less what all the rest of his people were saying, because they just wanted.
I like how he would send them out at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, right. Man, this old dude, he's like, too much Diet Coke.
Well, you know why he did that? He sent it out like 2 or 3 in the morning because they were scampering to get breaking news. Donald Trump sends out a immediate tweet. Donald
Trump had a bad Thai meal and now he's tweeting.
God.
Sitting on the John.
Yeah.
Tweeting away.
Jeez.
Here's what I want to know, man. Where's our president like this? You know who this guy is? Javier Milei.
Oh yeah.
Look at this. He's flying commercial. He's the president of Argentina. He's flying commercial. That guy is just fantastic. Man, I don't know.
We'll get there one day. It just has it's taking a wake up call. And I think we're getting there right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing. And I think that's another reason. That's another thing I was thinking about on this immigration issue. I think that the immigrants that are here legally, the natural born citizens, black, white, Asian, whoever else, I think the ones we're starting to see, and for years we saw the black population voting more toward the Democrat side of the aisle. They're starting to move towards center right.
Yeah,
and I think so. In order to change it, the Communist Democrats are bringing these people in not just because they're losing votes.
Yeah.
It's because the black community is saying we're no longer pawns to your game.
Exactly.
We know what's going on in this country, and we're now going to do something to change it, and we're going to vote somebody in that's going to take care of this country.
Yeah,
and
that has their
think,
best interests at heart. I mean, that's the thing. They have been used and abused for years by the Democrat Party, and it's actually a very heartbreaking thing because their situation has gotten exponentially worse over the years, and it's largely because of bad policy, because of breakdowns in the family, and all these things that are the result of bad policy that have changed the culture. And we could get it. It's a long conversation.
Yeah, we could go all into that one. Yeah,
right, on why that is. But they are. I've been watching a lot of these man on the street interviews lately, and they're going around asking people that you would obviously expect to be Biden voters, and they're like, "No, I voted for Biden. I've been voting for these Democrats for a long time. They do not have my best interest at heart. I'm Trump 2024. I'm Trump 2024." And the only people that are cussing these kids, and when I say kids, it's these hipsters or kids that are going around interviewing people on the street, are angry white liberals.
Yeah,
well, they're the ones who are like,
that's what a communist Democrat is an angry white communist Democrat.
and it's like this is so like, yeah, I mean, it's the black community has realized that they have been underserved, they have been hosed by Democrats for a long time, and a glorious change would be to see, Chicago have their city council replaced by Republicans.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Now, there's enough political corruption, I think, there in New York and all these L.A. and all those places that it'll be hard to weed out the Democrats from those areas. But man, a few good years with a Donald Trump presidency, maybe people start turning things around and
start waking it up.
Man,
I mean, and I think that's what happened though, and that's why I said MAGA was a movement, because when you look at what happened prior to Donald Trump getting elected, people were tired of the same old politician.
Yeah,
and they elected Donald Trump because they were tired of the same old politics, and even people like Ted Cruz, who we knew were conservative people, didn't get in because we didn't even know who Donald Trump was. Now, when Donald Trump started to Make America Great Again movement, when he started that, and when he said, "I'm clearing out the swamp," guess what's happening now, folks? They're clearing them out. Like, we are literally looking and seeing he drug him out. He drug him out, not by dragging him out personally, but he has shown us who these people truly are. And these people, their true colors have come out over the past 5-6 years.
I'd say I would agree with that. That he's exposed. He didn't clear out the swamp like we thought he was going to.
Well, you can't clear out who people are voting for, but you can expose them for who they truly are, so that they can get cleared out.
I mean, I would say that's what this past 4 years, even with him out of office. I mean, him being in office, some of those people revealed themselves. Other people just kept quiet, and they were like, "Okay, I'm not going to go for him, but I'm not going to go against him because that doesn't help me." But I think that in the past 4 years, we've seen the Republicans, the Rhinos, and 100%. Oh gosh, of course, my cat decides to jump up on the table in the middle of a podcast. Hang on, let me just set her down. She just makes herself at home.
Cat's fat.
Yeah, I know. That's an 18-pound cat right there, buddy. That's okay. She used to be freezing to death out in the street, and I saved her. Love her heart. But no, over the past 4 years, she's done that before, by the way. When I've done other podcasts, so yeah. But yeah, over the last 4 years, since Biden's been in office, the Rhinos, the people that are in every way just never Trumpers, have shown themselves. And it's kind of sad that it's turned to one guy who's been the ushered in this new era of Republican politics, because the Republican Party is just Democrat light. I mean, it's a uniparty. They're unipartians, and they have been for a long time. And Trump is the one who's making them distinguish themselves from the Republican Party, although it's really airing more towards conservatives and, you know what I'm saying? He's further dividing the party down a bit.
But he gave those people that were sitting in the background a voice.
Yeah.
And those people,
that's true. That's true.
And those people that were sitting in the background going, you know, I don't know if I should say anything. He's giving them a voice now, and now they're speaking out.
Yeah.
So I think we are going to see change. Now, you know, a lot of his stuff next time will be executive order, but I think what'll happen is you'll start seeing how the economy gets better and how things start improving. And I think people in their jurisdictions or their general areas are going to start voting more conservative based off of.
I hate the way that we've gotten to this has been just a snowball. These executive orders. The president was never meant. The president was never.
Orders.
Yeah, the president was never meant to have this much authority.
Nah.
The Supreme Court was never meant to have this much authority, and they both do. They both have far more than the House, which is supposed to have all the authority, or the bulk of all the authority, but that was supposed to be the most powerful body.
Yeah.
In our three.
I don't, and I do not disagree with you 100%. I'm totally on board with what you're saying.
They flip-flopped it. It's like an emperor. I mean,
they should never have done the executive order. They should never have been even introduced into our Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, every president's used them for one thing.
But they didn't start using them and the communists use it. The Obama used it. Biden's used it. Of course, you know, Bush and all, and Trump have used them, but and Pete, you look at how much Biden set records on how many that he signed. So, I mean, it's beyond the realm. It should be done through our government and the way that our founding fathers originally wanted this country to do stuff is through by total convincing of one way or the other.
The first executive order was actually issued by George Washington in 1789, and it was addressed to the heads of the federal departments. It instructed them to impress him with a full, precise, and distinct general idea of the affairs of the United States in their fields. And so that was technically the first executive order, but it wasn't, rewriting it wasn't things that were altering our economy. It was just,
but all it does is start with one, and then from there on, it just snowballs.
Well, at the end of the day, beware of these people. So, the lizard people.
The lizard people.
All right.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. We have been going on that one for a minute.
We're about to come up on an hour. And so, this is just one example. Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State. If you wanted to know how these people make boatloads of money, and if you want to know how corrupt it is, just look at Vivek Ramaswamy posting the same video as Nikki Haley. He has to take his down. She gets to leave hers up. This is from a CNN thing. Mike Pompeo, he is going and working for a Ukrainian mobile service provider, like the largest one over there. He'll make his, bukus of money working for them. They're rigging the system. It's constantly rigging the system with the intent of eroding our great and wonderful republic that is, they're taking it down piece by piece. Altering influence, altering exposure for people. In the Nikki Haley example, she's one of the chosen ones, so she gets to have as much reach as she wants on social media. But they threaten lawsuits against Vivek Ramaswamy. She was working on a board for Boeing.
I'll say Pompeo kind of surprises me. Like he's kind of but now I know. But Nikki Haley, that's inevitable. Yeah, I knew she'd be that way.
Yeah,
she's totally in on it.
Well, yeah. If they if it's someone everybody's telling you, if you let me put it this way: if you go to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, or Fox News, and they're talking sweet about them, be aware. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Well, just do your own research. Just go back and look at your own stuff. You don't even have to take what we say all here.
No,
You
yeah,
just go
yeah,
back
yeah.
and
No, do your own research.
I mean,
Yep.
we have this vast knowledge. It's called the internet, but you may have to search on like the 100,000th page to find it. But
Yeah.
you'll find it.
Well, hey, that's going to do it for us today, man. Thanks so much for this one. This is a good
I
time.
know, I appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
a great time when I get to come in here.
Hey, for those of y'all that have hung in with us the whole time, be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. Any poll question you want to ask people? Anything you want them to answer? Who's your pick for if take Trump out of the picture? Who's your pick for 2024? That's what I want to know.
That would be a good one.
Leave it. Yeah, take Trump out of the picture. Who'd be your pick? Give me your comments and why. There you go. Thank you all so much. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave your comments below. We are on X Locals, Rumble, and YouTube, and we'll see you all in the next video.
Trump 2024.
There you go. And now I'll play the outro.